We need a national strategy to confront violence against women. It's got to engage particularly women's organizations and those in sociology fields who are paying attention to this issue. We need to actually name it and shame it and be out there and have a zero tolerance for violence against women. I mentioned earlier, of course, the urgent need for an inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women. But it's a societal challenge that requires a very significant response.
C'est plus probable, 4 fois plus probable pour une femme autochtone d'être tuée qu'une autre femme au Canada. À l'international, comme vous le dites, le viol est devenu une arme de guerre. Que ce soit au Moyen-Orient, qu'on l'a vu en Libye, ou on le voit en ce moment à d'autres endroits, on l'a vu au Congo. Donc, il y a du travail qui a été fait chez nous par des gens comme Paul Dewar. Stephen Lewis, avec sa fondation, mène un travail acharné là-dessus. Donc, il faut avoir un plan d'action national pour enrayer la violence faite aux femmes. Aucun objectif en deçà de l'élimination serait acceptable en ce qui nous concerne. Il faut une commission royale d'enquête sur les femmes autochtones disparues ou assassinées. 1200 femmes disparues ou assassinées, aucune enquête. Imaginez que si dans la grande région d'Ottawa, avec une population similaire que la population autochtone, il y avait un tel nombre de femmes qui étaient disparues ou assassinées, on n'aurait pas besoin des Nations Unies pour nous supplier d'enquêter. Ça serait fait depuis longtemps. Donc, nous, on va faire ça. On a aussi un plan très concret pour les refuges, 40 millions de dollars.
Would you care to put forth a figure for women's shelters?
Well, the issue with the infrastructure program we're putting forward is we're being a partner to municipalities and provinces. I don't think it's up to the federal government to draw lines on a map or to tell a municipality what it needs and where. Municipalities have serious needs to increase women's shelters, and provinces need a partner from the federal government. And with our historic investments that we've announced, we're going to be able to partner and make sure that they happen.
I restarted the Women's Caucus in Parliament, which is all women in the House and in the Senate. And we do meet, and we did confront the issue of the sexual harassment that was occurring in the House of Commons and try to provide our own advice to the parliamentary committee that was looking at coming up with terms of reference for that. And when we went around the room, regardless of what party we were in, it won't surprise anyone to know that we all said, of course we've all confronted sexism. We all knew of either ourselves or close friends who'd experienced violence again. And that means, the refusal to even talk about it, the ability within Parliament. I said, let's have public hearings and bring the media in where we can all say, yeah, we've experienced this and we're not going to take it anymore. We need to name that and make it unacceptable in our society.
Parliament has no rules about sexual harassment. Why is that?
Well, Parliament had rules only with regard to employees and employers, but had no rules about members of Parliament amongst themselves. It was an obvious gap. But everybody was saying, well, they're elected members, they have their own way, it's politics, that doesn't apply. Well, it does apply. And Parliament will have rules going forward. So I gave an example from 25 years ago where we changed the rules. This is a contemporary example where something should have been done a long time ago. But I guess if you would have surveyed parliamentarians a decade ago, maybe they would have all said, that's not a problem here. It is a problem.
And there's still tremendous stigma around sexual violence as if it's somehow the victim's fault. And that's something I've been dealing with for 20 years, for my volunteer years at McGill. And we need to make sure that we are creating a society that is accepting and respectful and understands that violence against women is not just a women's issue. It's everyone's issue, and men have a very important role to play.
How do you explain that 50 years after women, have been fighting for equality, have made great strides in many domains, but still remain that vulnerable to violence? How do you explain that?
Well, tough to explain. I don't think there's a rational explanation to that, unless all stereotypes of the way things should work. All religions are not very open to women, and it implies that it has effects on philosophy and finally on politics also.
I don't know where exactly to point my finger. I think there's probably an awful lot of factors that come together to shape societal behaviors, whether it's certain types of music. There's a lot of misogyny in certain types of music. There's issues around pornography and its prevalence now and its accessibility, which is something I'm really wrapping my heads around as a father of kids who are approaching their teen years. And there's also just the shifting parental roles as well. There's a lot of communities in which fathers are less present than they have been or they might be in the past, and there's a more need to have engaged, positive role models.
Je suis un féministe. Alors moi, j'aimerais bien que quand les gens attaquent les féministes, qu'ils pensent aussi qu'il y a beaucoup d'hommes qui se considèrent féministes et qui vont se battre pour les droits des femmes ici au Canada et ailleurs dans le monde.
I am a feminist. I'm proud to be a feminist.
If the federal government doesn't play a role, if we don't create a national program that actually invests in reducing the incidence of violence against women, then we're failing we're failing ourselves and we're failing our daughters.